The morning sun beat down on Miami Beach as Zariah Monroe stepped out of the taxi. She straightened her simple blue sundress and looked up at the gleaming tower of La Vela Grand Hotel. With its gold-trimmed entrance and marble columns, it screamed money and privilege. Zariah took a deep breath. At 27, she wasn't easily intimidated, but today mattered. She'd promised Lucian she would meet him here, and she never broke her promises. "You can do this," she whispered to herself as she clutched her folder of documents tighter. The doorman barely glanced at her as she walked through the grand entrance. Inside, the lobby sparkled with crystal chandeliers and polished floors. Well-dressed people lounged on velvet sofas, sipping champagne despite the early hour. No one looked her way. To them, she was invisible. Zariah approached the front desk, where a young woman with a perfect blonde ponytail smiled automatically. "Good morning, welcome to La Vela Grand. How may I assist you?" "I'm here to meet Lucien Deveau," Zariah said. The smile faltered. The receptionist's eyes darted to Zariah's white sneakers, then back to her face. "Mr. Deveau, do you have an appointment?" "Yes," Zariah replied simply. She didn't explain further. She didn't have to. The receptionist picked up the phone, whispering something Zariah couldn't hear. After a moment, she hung up. "Mr. Deveau is in a meeting. If you'd like to leave a message—" "I'll wait," Zariah said, turning away. She walked toward the guest elevators, intending to go up to the restaurant on the top floor where they had agreed to meet. Before she could reach the elevator, a man in an expensive suit stepped in front of her. His name tag read Carson Blake, manager. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Excuse me, miss. Can I help you?" His voice was smooth but cold. "I'm fine, thank you," Zariah replied, trying to step around him. He moved to block her path again. "Service staff should use the back elevator. You know the rules." Zariah blinked. "I'm not—" "Please," he cut her off, gesturing toward a side hallway. "The service elevator is that way." Several guests had turned to watch the exchange. A woman in diamonds whispered to her companion, and they both laughed behind manicured hands. Zariah said nothing, just tilted her head and gave a small, enigmatic smile. She'd been here before. Not in this hotel, but in this moment. The assumption, the dismissal. "I'll wait in the lobby," she said quietly, turning away from the elevators. Carson nodded, satisfied. That would be best. 10 minutes passed as Zariah sat on a bench near the entrance. She watched people come and go, none of them questioned or stopped. She checked her watch. Lucian was late, which wasn't like him. Just as she was beginning to worry, the front doors swung open. The entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. Lucian Deveau walked in like he owned the place, and for all Zariah knew, maybe he did. At 30, he commanded attention without trying. His crisp navy suit fit his tall frame perfectly. His expression was serious, focused. People noticed him immediately. The receptionist straightened. The manager, who had stopped Zariah, suddenly appeared, smiling broadly. "Mr. Deveau, what an honor to have you visit La Vela Grand today. If there's anything at all we can do to—" But Lucien didn't even look at him. His eyes had found Zariah, and his serious expression melted into a warm smile that transformed his entire face. He walked straight to her, ignoring everyone else. "There you are," he said warmly, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Sorry I'm late, Angel. Traffic was terrible." The lobby went silent. The manager turned pale. Zariah looked up at Lucian, finally speaking above a whisper. "I was just being told where I belong." Lucian's smile vanished. He looked the manager dead in the eye. "Where she belongs," he said, his voice carrying across the now silent lobby, "is beside me." Carson Blake's face drained of color. "Mr. Deveau, I had no idea she was with you. She didn't say—" "Why should she have to?" Lucian's voice was quiet but sharp. "Does everyone who walks through those doors need to announce their connections to be treated with respect?" "Of course not, sir. It was a misunderstanding." "Was it?" Lucian cut him off. "Or was it an assumption based on how she looks?" The manager had no answer. Lucian turned back to Zariah, his expression softening. "I'm sorry you had to deal with this. Let's go." As they walked toward the elevator, the manager hurried after them. "Mr. Deveau, please allow me to make this right. We can offer you our finest suite, complimentary, of course." "That won't be necessary," Lucian said without looking back. "We won't be staying." The elevator doors closed, leaving the lobby buzzing with whispers. Inside the elevator, Zariah let out a long breath. Lucian pulled her closer. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," she said. "It's nothing new." Lucian's jaw tightened. "It shouldn't happen at all, not to you, not to anyone." Zariah squeezed his hand. "It's been happening my whole life, Lucian. I've learned to handle it. You shouldn't have to handle it." The elevator reached the top floor. They stepped out into the elegant restaurant with its panoramic views of the ocean. A hostess rushed to greet them. "Mr. DeVoe, your usual table is ready." She led them to a corner table with the best view. Zariah noticed how everyone watched them, curious about the woman at Lucien's side. Once they were seated, Lucien reached across the table for her hand. "I hate that you went through that," he said. "It's not your fault. It is, if I'm not doing enough to stop it." His dark eyes held hers. "I should have been there sooner." Zariah shook her head. "You can't protect me from every ignorant person in Miami." "Watch me try," he said with a half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Their waiter appeared, nervously hovering at Lucian's elbow. "Mr. DeVoe, it's an honor. Can I get you both something to drink?" "Just water for now," Zariah said. "The same," Lucian added. When the waiter left, Zariah opened the folder she'd brought. "I finished the plans for the community garden project," she said, changing the subject. "We can convert that empty lot you own in Overtown into something beautiful, something that helps people." Lucien looked at the detailed drawings she'd made, the careful budget. "This is amazing, Zariah. You've thought of everything." "It's what I do," she said with a small smile. "While you're building skyscrapers, I'm trying to carve out green spaces underneath them. That's why we make such a good team." The waiter returned with their water, then hovered uncertainly. "Will anyone else be joining you today, sir?" "No," Lucien replied. "Just us." "Very good, sir." After he left, Zariah gave Lucien a knowing look. He was expecting someone else, wasn't he? Someone who fits better with... She gestured around the elegant restaurant. "Don't start," Lucien said gently. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. I don't care what they think." "Don't you?" Zariah challenged. "Your board meeting yesterday, how did it go?" Lucian looked away, out toward the ocean. "Fine, Lucian," he sighed. "Jenkins made another comment about my image, said I should consider how my personal choices affect investor confidence. He meant me. He's an old fool who should retire," Lucien said firmly. "His opinion means nothing, but his money means something." Lucien's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "Work?" Zariah asked. "Nothing important," but she could tell it was. Lucian was always working, always building his empire. She admired his drive, his vision. It was part of why she'd fallen for him 3 years ago. They had met when Zariah was working as a part-time housekeeper in the apartment building where Lucien had his first small office. She was finishing her online degree in urban ecology, cleaning to make ends meet. He was just starting out, ambitious but not yet wealthy. He'd noticed her tending to the dying plants in the lobby, bringing them back to life. They'd started talking about sustainable urban development. The conversation had lasted hours. He had seen her, really seen her, from the beginning. "Remember when we first met?" she asked suddenly. Lucien smiled, a real smile this time. "You were wearing yellow. You told me my office plant was dying because I was overwatering it. And you said, 'Even my plants can't survive my good intentions.'" He laughed. "You saved that plant. It's still alive in your office. 3 years later." He squeezed her hand. "Just like us." The waiter returned with menus, but Lucien waved him away. "We need a few more minutes." When they were alone again, Zariah leaned forward. "Lucien, we need to talk." His expression turned serious. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong exactly. It's just..." She paused, gathering her courage. "Things are different now. You're different. Your world is different." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I love you, but I'm not sure I fit into your life anymore." Lucien stared at her. "How can you say that?" "Look around, Lucien. This is your world now. Penthouses and board meetings and people who judge me the second I walk through the door. I don't care about any of that. I care about you. I know you do. When we're alone." She took a deep breath. "But in public, with your investors, at your galas, you care then. You have to. That's not fair, isn't it? Last month at the Thornton fundraiser, you introduced me as your friend." Lucian looked pained. "That was one time. I was caught off guard. And when Jenkins makes comments about your image, you don't defend me. You change the subject. I'm trying to protect you from all that ugliness." "No," Zariah said quietly. "You're trying to protect your business, and I understand that. I do. But I can't keep pretending it doesn't hurt." Lucian ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "What do you want from me, Zariah? I love you, isn't that enough?" "It used to be." They sat in tense silence, the beautiful view suddenly meaningless. Zariah hadn't meant to have this conversation here, but after what happened in the lobby, she couldn't hold it in anymore. "I got offered a job," she said finally. "In Seattle." working on urban sustainability projects for the city. Lucian went still. Seattle. It's a good opportunity. When were you going to tell me? I'm telling you now. Are you asking my opinion or telling me you're leaving? His voice was carefully controlled. I don't know yet. Lucian's phone buzzed again. This time, when he glanced at it, his expression changed to alarm. What is it? Zariah asked. It's happening now, he said, standing up. They're making their move. Who is? What move? Blackstone Development. They're trying to force a vote to remove me as CEO. He was already tapping out a response on his phone. I have to go. Now? We're in the middle of a conversation, Lucian. I know, and I'm sorry, but this can't wait. They've been planning this for months. If I don't stop it now, I could lose everything I've built. Zariah sat back, a familiar disappointment settling over her. Go. We'll finish this conversation tonight, he promised, leaning down to kiss her cheek. Come to my place. 8 o'clock. Lucian, please, Zariah. This isn't me choosing work over you. This is me protecting what I've built, so I can give you the life you deserve. I never asked for that life. I know. That's what makes you different. He squeezed her hand one last time. 8 o'clock. We'll talk about everything. Seattle, Jenkins, all of it. I promise. And then he was gone, leaving Zariah alone at the table with her untouched water and the ocean view. The waiter approached cautiously. Will you be dining alone, miss? The question hung in the air. Would she? Was that her future, always left behind when Lucian's world called? No, she said finally, gathering her folder and standing up. I won't be dining at all. As she walked through the restaurant, she felt the stares again. Without Lucian beside her, she was once more invisible, or worse, an object of curiosity and judgment. In the elevator, she took out her phone and looked at the job offer email from Seattle. Maybe it was time for a change. Maybe it was time to stop waiting for Lucian to choose her publicly the way he did privately. The elevator doors opened, and Zariah stepped into the lobby. Carson Blake, the manager, was watching for her. He approached with an obsequious smile. Ms. Monroe, please accept my deepest apologies for the misunderstanding earlier. Mr. DeVoe is one of our most valued guests, and by extension, so are you. Now that he knew she was connected to money and power, she was worthy of respect. The realization made her tired. Thank you, she said simply, not wanting to engage. If there's anything at all I can do to make your experience more pleasant, there isn't. As she walked toward the exit, a tall woman in an expensive suit entered. She was striking, with perfect makeup and hair that probably cost more than Zariah's monthly rent. The woman walked straight to the manager and air-kissed both his cheeks. Carson, darling, is he here? Miss Sinclair, always a pleasure. I'm afraid Mr. DeVoe just left. Zariah slowed her steps, listening. Oh, that's too bad, the woman pouted. His assistant said he'd be here all morning. He was called away on urgent business, but he was here with... Carson's eyes flicked to Zariah, then back to the woman. A colleague. Zariah felt something cold settle in her stomach. Who was this woman looking for Lucian? As if sensing her gaze, the woman turned and looked directly at Zariah. Something like recognition flashed in her eyes. You're Zariah, aren't you? She asked, walking over. Lucian's friend. The pause before friend spoke volumes. And you are? Zariah asked. Victoria Sinclair. She extended a manicured hand. I'm on the board at DeVoe Enterprises. Lucian and I go way back. Zariah shook her hand briefly. Nice to meet you. You know, we're all so curious about you, Victoria said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The mysterious woman who's captured Lucian's attention for so long. I'm not mysterious, just private. Well, you must be special. Lucian usually moves on quickly, though I suppose he's reaching that age where he needs to think about settling down. With someone appropriate, of course. The implication was clear, and in that moment, Zariah understood. Victoria wasn't just a board member. She was a contender, someone the board would approve of, someone who fit the look. I should go, Zariah said. Victoria touched her arm. One more thing. There's a gala tomorrow night. Investors, partners, very important for Lucian's future. Will you be there? Zariah hesitated. I'm not sure. Oh, Victoria's smile widened. I just assumed since it's so important to him, but I understand if those events aren't your scene. With that, she glided away toward the restaurant, leaving Zariah standing in the lobby, feeling more out of place than ever. Outside, the Miami heat hit her like a wall. She took a deep breath of the humid air and started walking, no particular destination in mind. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucian. Emergency board meeting. Might run late. Still on for 8? Zariah stared at the message for a long moment before responding. I'll be there. She had a decision to make. About Seattle. About Lucian. About whether love alone was enough in a world that seemed determined to remind her she didn't belong. As she walked along the palm-lined street, one question kept circling in her mind. Was she strong enough to keep fighting for a place in Lucian's world? Or was it time to create her own? The Miami sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink as Zariah stood on Lucian's penthouse balcony. 40 floors below, the city lights were beginning to twinkle. She checked her watch again. 8:45 p.m. Lucian was late. She wasn't surprised. The emergency board meeting had probably run long. Blackstone Development had been trying to take over Lucian's company for months, and today they'd made their move. Her phone buzzed with a text. "On my way. 15 minutes. Order dinner if you're hungry." Zariah put her phone away without responding. She'd already eaten a sandwich at home before coming over. Experience had taught her not to wait on Lucian for meals. The penthouse was beautiful, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows. Modern art hung on the walls, and the furniture looked expensive but barely used. It didn't feel like a home. It felt like a statement. Zariah wandered into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. Almost empty as usual. Lucian rarely cooked. He either ate at restaurants or ordered in. She remembered their first date. Not at a fancy restaurant, but in his tiny apartment back when he was just starting his company. He had attempted to cook pasta, setting off the smoke alarm. They'd ended up ordering pizza and eating it on his balcony, really just a fire escape, laughing under the stars. Things had been simpler then, harder in some ways. They both had been struggling to establish their careers, but simpler. The sound of the front door opening pulled her from her memories. Lucian walked in, loosening his tie. He looked tired but victorious. "We won," he said, dropping his briefcase on the couch. "I kept control of the company." "Congratulations," Zariah said, meaning it. She knew how hard he'd worked to build his business. Lucian crossed to her and pulled her into a tight embrace. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Me? I wasn't even there." "But you're why I fight so hard." He kissed her forehead. "You believe in me. Always have, even when I was nobody." "You were never nobody to me," she said softly. He pulled back to look at her, his expression serious. "About our conversation earlier." The doorbell interrupted him. Lucian frowned. "Are you expecting someone?" Zariah asked. "No." He went to the intercom. "Yes. Mr. DeVoe, it's Jeremy Jenkins and Victoria Sinclair. We need to discuss today's events." Lucian glanced at Zariah with an apologetic look. "Now isn't a good time." "It's crucial, Lucian," Victoria's voice cut in. "The investors are nervous. We need to plan our next move before the markets open tomorrow." Lucian sighed, his hand hovering over the buzzer. He looked at Zariah. "Let them in," she said. "It's important." "We were in the middle of something important too," he replied, but pressed the buzzer anyway. A few minutes later, Jenkins and Victoria stepped off the private elevator. Jenkins was in his 60s, with silver hair and the confident air of old money. Victoria looked immaculate in a designer dress, not a hair out of place despite the late hour. "Lucian, we need to—" Jenkins stopped when he saw Zariah. "Oh, I didn't realize you had company." The slight pause spoke volumes. "Zariah isn't company. She lives here," Lucian said firmly. It wasn't exactly true. Zariah had her own apartment, though she spent most nights at Lucian's place, but she appreciated the statement. Victoria's smile was tight. "Of course. How lovely to see you again, Zariah. Twice in one day, what a coincidence." Jenkins cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss business privately, Lucian." "Anything you need to say can be said in front of Zariah," Lucian replied. Jenkins and Victoria exchanged glances. "Fine," Jenkins said. "The situation is this. We held them off today, but Blackstone is making calls to all our major investors. They're suggesting your leadership is unstable." "Unstable?" Lucian repeated. "We've had record growth under my leadership. It's not about the numbers," Victoria said smoothly. "It's about perception, image. They're painting you as impulsive, unpredictable." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Jenkins asked. "This morning you fired a hotel manager on the spot. Word travels fast in this town." Zariah felt a chill. So that's what this was about. "He deserved it," Lucian said. "Perhaps," Jenkins conceded, "but these emotional displays concern investors. They want steady, reliable leadership." "There's nothing emotional about standing up against discrimination," Lucian countered. Victoria stepped forward, placing a hand on Lucian's arm. "No one's questioning your values, Lucian. But there are ways to handle these situations without creating scenes. Zariah watched Victoria's hand linger on Lucian's arm. The touch seemed practiced, familiar. The point is, Jenkins continued, we have a major investors' gala tomorrow night. Everyone who matters will be there. We need to present a united, stable front. I'll be there, Lucian said. With Zariah. Another glance between Jenkins and Victoria. About that, Victoria said carefully. We were thinking it might be better if you came alone, just for this event. Excuse me? Lucian's voice was dangerously quiet. It's nothing personal, Jenkins hurried to add, but after today's incident, bringing Zariah might seem like you're making a point. We need to focus on business, not social statements. Zariah felt like she'd been slapped. She was a social statement now. Get out, Lucian said to Jenkins, his voice cold. Lucian, be reasonable. I said get out. Jenkins sighed. This is exactly the kind of reaction that concerns investors. Emotional, impulsive. Protecting someone I love isn't impulsive. It's the only choice. Victoria stepped between them. Let's all calm down. Jenkins, maybe give us a moment. She turned to Lucian. Let me talk to you privately. Jenkins nodded stiffly and walked to the far end of the living room, pretending to admire a painting. Victoria lowered her voice. Lucian, you know I support you. But this is bigger than just tomorrow night. The board is watching your every move. I don't care what the board thinks. You should, Victoria said, because if you lose control of the company, you lose everything you've built. Is that what you want? Zariah had heard enough. I should go, she said quietly. Lucian turned to her. No, stay. This won't take long. It's late, Zariah said, and you clearly have business to discuss. Zariah, it's fine. She picked up her purse. We can talk tomorrow. Victoria's smile was sympathetic, but her eyes were triumphant. That's very understanding of you, Zariah. Zariah ignored her, looking only at Lucian. Call me when you're done. She walked to the elevator, feeling Lucian's eyes on her back. Part of her wanted him to stop her to tell Jenkins and Victoria that they could leave instead, but he didn't. As the elevator doors closed, she heard Victoria say, Now, about tomorrow night. The ride down to the lobby was quick, but gave Zariah enough time to collect herself. She wouldn't cry. Not here. Outside, the night air was warm and humid. She decided to walk a few blocks before calling a taxi. She needed to clear her head. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucian. I'm sorry, give me an hour to deal with this. I'll come to your place. Zariah didn't respond. She wasn't sure what she wanted anymore. 3 blocks from Lucian's building, a black car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, revealing Jenkins in the back seat. Ms. Monroe, he called. May I give you a ride? No, thank you, Zariah replied, continuing to walk. Please, he said. I'd like to speak with you. It's important. Zariah stopped. Maybe it was time to hear what Jenkins had to say directly, without Lucian as a buffer. 5 minutes, she said, getting into the car. Jenkins directed his driver to circle the block. Then he turned to Zariah. I want to apologize for how that came across back there, he said. It wasn't personal. It felt personal. I understand why, but you have to see the bigger picture, which is, Lucian is on the verge of something extraordinary. His company is about to go global. Billions of dollars are at stake. Good for him, Zariah said flatly. It's not just about money, Jenkins continued. His developments include affordable housing, sustainable energy solutions, things I know you care about. Zariah stayed silent, waiting for him to get to the point. But to make that happen, we need the right investors, conservative investors, old money, people who care about tradition. You mean people who care that I'm black and don't come from money? Jenkins had the decency to look uncomfortable. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Ms. Monroe, I'm simply being practical. The world isn't fair. I wish it were. But right now, Lucian needs to play by certain rules to get where he wants to go. And I'm breaking those rules by existing? By being visible, Jenkins corrected. Just for now. Zariah laughed without humor. Just for now. How long is now, Mr. Jenkins? A month? A year? Until Lucian is so successful he can afford to acknowledge me in public. You love him, don't you? That's not the question. The question is whether he loves me enough to stand up for me when it matters. Jenkins sighed. Love is complicated when there's this much at stake. No, Zariah said firmly. Love is the one thing that should be simple. What if I told you Lucian has plans to use his success to change things, to create opportunities for people like you? People like me, Zariah repeated. You don't know anything about people like me, Mr. Jenkins. I know you're smart. I know you care about the environment. about communities. I've seen your work. Zariah raised an eyebrow. How you've been checking up on me. I make it my business to know everything about the people in Lucian's life. The car stopped at a red light. Zariah reached for the door handle. I'll tell you what I know, Mr. Jenkins. I know that if Lucian has to hide me to succeed, then his success will be built on a lie, and lies have a way of crumbling eventually. Think about his future, Ms. Monroe. I am, Zariah said, and mine too. She got out of the car, ignoring Jenkins calling after her. She walked quickly, anger fueling her steps. How dare he try to convince her to step aside for Lucian's sake? By the time she reached her apartment building, a modest place in a neighborhood that was still up and coming, her anger had cooled into determination. She needed to make a decision about Seattle, about her future, about whether she was willing to be someone's secret. Inside her apartment, she kicked off her shoes and sat on the couch, staring at the job offer email on her phone. The position in Seattle was perfect, working on urban sustainability projects for the city. Good salary, meaningful work, a fresh start. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. It was too early for Lucian to have finished with Victoria and Jenkins. She opened the door to find her neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, an elderly woman who had lived in the building for decades. I saw your light on, Mrs. Garcia said. I made too much soup. Would you like some? That's very kind, thank you. Mrs. Garcia handed her a container of soup, then peered at Zariah's face. You look troubled, child. Is it that handsome man of yours again? Zariah smiled despite herself. Mrs. Garcia didn't miss much. It's complicated. Love always is. But it shouldn't make you look so sad. It's not just about love, it's about fitting into someone else's world. Mrs. Garcia nodded wisely. Ah, you know, when I first came to this country, my husband's family thought I wasn't good enough. Too poor, too uneducated, too different. What did you do? I stopped trying to fit into their world. I made my husband see that I had my own world, and it was beautiful too. Mrs. Garcia patted Zariah's arm. Don't make yourself small for anyone, mihija. Not even for love. After Mrs. Garcia left, Zariah sat with the soup growing cold on her coffee table. The old woman's words echoed in her mind. Don't make yourself small for anyone. Wasn't that what she'd been doing? Making herself smaller, less visible to fit into Lucian's world? Another knock came at her door. This time, it was Lucian. He looked exhausted. Can I come in? He asked. Zariah stepped aside to let him enter. He immediately pulled her into an embrace. I'm sorry about tonight, he said. Jenkins and Victoria had no right to say those things. But they did say them, Zariah replied, gently pulling away. And you didn't stop them. I told Jenkins to get out. After he suggested I shouldn't attend the gala with you, not when he implied I was somehow bad for your image. Lucian ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Lucian? Explain it to me. He paced the small living room. These investors are old school, conservative. They care about appearances. And I don't have the right appearance. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Zariah demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you're asking me to hide until your business is secure enough that you can afford to be seen with me. That's not fair. Jenkins offered me a ride tonight, Zariah said. Lucian stopped pacing. What? When? After I left your place, he suggested I should step back for your sake, for your future. I'll fire him, Lucian said immediately. He had no right. He was just saying out loud what everyone's been thinking, Zariah cut in. Including you. That's not true. I love you, Zariah. I want you in my life. In your private life, behind closed doors. No, Lucian took her hands. I want you everywhere. At every event, every meeting, every dinner, I'm proud to be with you. Then why didn't you tell Jenkins that I would be attending the gala tomorrow night, no matter what he or the board thinks? Lucian hesitated, just a second too long. That's what I thought, Zariah said, pulling her hands away. It's complicated, Zariah. The company is at a crucial point. The company is always at a crucial point, Lucian. There's always another deal, another investor, another reason why now isn't the right time to take a stand. That's not fair. I defended you at the hotel today. Yes, you did. And then Jenkins called it an emotional display that concerns investors, and suddenly you're not so sure anymore. Lucian looked pained. What do you want from me? I'm trying to balance everything. I want you to choose, Zariah said simply. Me or them, all of me, visible and proud at your side, or none of me at all. It's not that simple. It is to me. They stood in silence, the gulf between them widening with every unspoken word. Finally, Lucian spoke. I can't lose the company, Zariah. It's everything I've worked for." The words hung in the air between them. Not a direct answer, but an answer nonetheless. "I got offered a job in Seattle," Zariah said quietly. Lucian stared at her. "Seattle? Working on urban sustainability projects for the city. It's a good opportunity. When would you start?" "Next month." Lucian looked like he'd been punched. "You're really considering this?" "I'm more than considering it," Zariah said. "I think I'm going to take it." "Just like that? You'd leave everything we've built together?" "What have we built, Lucian, really? A relationship that only exists in private? A love that hides in the shadows? That's not fair." "Life isn't fair," Zariah echoed Jenkins' words. "Isn't that what your board would say?" Lucian moved toward her, his eyes pleading. "Don't do this. Don't throw away 3 years over one bad night. It's not just tonight. It's every night I've waited for you to finish a meeting. Every event where you've introduced me as your friend. Every time you've chosen your image over our truth. I need time," Lucian said. "Just get through this investors' gala, and then we can figure everything out. I promise." "More time," Zariah repeated. "More waiting, more hiding. Just one more day, please." Zariah felt tired suddenly. Bone deep, tired. "Go to your gala, Lucian. Make your investors happy. Show them how stable and predictable you are. Come with me," he said. "We'll face them together." "No," Zariah shook her head. "Not this time. I won't be your statement. I won't be your risk." "Zariah, I think you should go," she said. "We both need to think." Lucian looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. "I'll call you tomorrow," he said. After he left, Zariah sat alone in her quiet apartment. The choice was becoming clear. Seattle represented more than just a job. It represented a chance to be valued for her work, her mind, her contributions, not judged for who she loved or what she looked like. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucian. "I love you. We'll figure this out." She didn't respond. Instead, she opened her laptop and began drafting an email accepting the Seattle position. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Was she really ready to leave, to start over somewhere new without Lucian? Another text came through, this one from an unknown number. "Ms. Monroe, this is Victoria Sinclair. We should talk. Breakfast tomorrow? The Bluebird Cafe at 9? Zariah stared at the message. What could Victoria possibly want to discuss? Nothing good, that was certain. But maybe it was time to hear what Victoria had to say, to understand exactly what, or who, she was up against. She replied, "I'll be there." Then she closed her laptop without sending the acceptance email. She would hear Victoria out first. Then she would decide. Morning came too quickly. Zariah dressed carefully in a simple but professional blue dress. If Victoria wanted to intimidate her with designer labels and perfect hair, she would be disappointed. Zariah had stopped trying to compete in that arena long ago. The Bluebird Cafe was a trendy spot in South Beach, the kind of place where influencers took photos of their avocado toast. Victoria was already there when Zariah arrived, sitting at a corner table with a perfect view of the ocean. "Zariah, thank you for coming," Victoria said, standing to greet her with air kisses that didn't quite touch her cheeks. "I took the liberty of ordering mimosas." "It's a bit early for me," Zariah replied, sitting down. "Of course." Victoria's smile was perfect, practiced. "How about coffee then?" Zariah nodded and Victoria signaled a waiter. "I'm sure you're wondering why I wanted to meet," Victoria said once they were alone again. "I have some ideas." "I'm sure you do." Victoria took a sip of her mimosa. "But they're probably wrong. I'm not here to warn you off, Lucian, or to threaten you in any way." "Then why are we here?" "Because I respect you," Victoria said, surprising Zariah. "And I think you deserve the truth." "Which is?" "Lucian is going to lose his company." Zariah blinked. "What?" "Blackstone Development has been working behind the scenes for months. They've secured commitments from enough shareholders to force Lucian out at the next board meeting." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Lucian won't see it coming and I don't want you caught in the fallout." Victoria leaned forward. "He's going to be devastated, angry. He might make rash decisions." "Like what?" "Like blaming the wrong people. Like burning bridges he can't afford to burn." Zariah studied Victoria carefully. "You seem to know a lot about Blackstone's plans." Victoria's smile never faltered. "I make it my business to know things." "And what's your role in all this?" "Are you helping Blackstone?" "I'm helping Lucian," Victoria said, "whether he knows it or not." The waiter brought Zariah's coffee. She wrapped her hands around the warm cup, trying to process what Victoria was saying. "Why should I believe you?" she asked finally. "Because unlike most people in Lucian's life, I have nothing to gain by lying to you." "You have everything to gain," Zariah countered. "If I leave, If Lucian is vulnerable, you're right there to pick up the pieces. Victoria laughed softly. Is that what you think, that I want Lucian for myself? Don't you? Lucian and I dated briefly, years ago, before he met you. It didn't work out. And yet you're still in his life, on his board. Because I believe in his vision, Victoria said simply, and because I care about him as a friend. Zariah wasn't convinced. So why tell me about Blackstone? Why not tell Lucian directly? Because he wouldn't believe me. He trusts the wrong people. Victoria's eyes were serious now. Including Jenkins. Jenkins is working with Blackstone? He's been their inside man from the beginning, feeding them information, helping them recruit shareholders. Zariah felt a chill. She remembered Jenkins' words from last night. Think about his future. If what you're saying is true, Zariah said slowly, then Lucian needs to know. He won't believe it coming from me, Victoria repeated, but he might believe it coming from you. Why would he? I don't have any proof. No, but you have his trust, his love. Victoria reached into her purse and pulled out a small USB drive. And now you have this. What is it? Emails, phone records, proof that Jenkins has been meeting with Blackstone executives for months. Zariah didn't take the drive. Why are you really doing this, Victoria? Victoria's perfect composure slipped, just for a moment. Because I've seen what Blackstone does to the companies they take over. They strip them for parts, fire most of the staff, abandon the projects that don't generate immediate profit. Like Lucian's affordable housing developments, Zariah said, understanding dawning. Exactly. Everything Lucian has worked for, everything you've helped him build will be dismantled. Zariah finally took the USB drive. I still don't understand why you're involving me. Because you're his blind spot, Victoria said bluntly. The one person who can make him see clearly. The one person who might convince him to fight the right enemy. And who is the right enemy? Not me, Victoria said. Despite what you might think. Not the board, either. Just Blackstone and their puppets. Like Jenkins. Like Jenkins, Victoria confirmed. The gala tonight is crucial. Blackstone will have representatives there, courting key investors. If Lucian makes the wrong impression, if he seems unstable or distracted, they'll use it against him. That's why you didn't want me there, Zariah realized. Not because you think I'm bad for his image, but because you were afraid our relationship drama would distract him. Partly, Victoria admitted, but also because I know how these people think. They're looking for any excuse to question Lucien's judgment, and in their narrow minds, a successful businessman in a serious relationship with someone like me, Zariah finished. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Zariah stood up. Thank you for the information. I'll make sure Lucian knows about Jenkins. Wait, Victoria said. There's one more thing you should know. Zariah paused. The Seattle job. It's not what you think. What do you mean? The company that's funding those urban sustainability projects, it's a Blackstone subsidiary. Zariah felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. That's not possible. Check for yourself, Victoria said. They wanted you out of the picture, away from Lucian. They know how much he values your opinion, your insight. Why would they care about me? Because you make him stronger, Victoria said simply, and they need him weak. Zariah left the cafe in a daze, the USB drive heavy in her purse. Could Victoria be telling the truth, or was this an elaborate manipulation? She needed to talk to Lucian. But first, she needed to verify Victoria's claims about the Seattle job. A quick internet search confirmed it. The urban sustainability projects were indeed funded by a company called Green Future Initiatives, a company that, after some digging, Zariah discovered was majority-owned by Blackstone Development. They had tried to remove her from Lucian's life by offering her a dream job, the perfect opportunity, too good to pass up. All to weaken Lucian at a crucial moment. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucian. Can we talk? I need to see you before the gala. Zariah replied immediately. Yes, we need to talk. It's important. As she waited for his response, Zariah thought about everything Victoria had said. If it was true, then the real battle wasn't between her and Lucian's business world. It was between Lucian and those who wanted to destroy what he'd built. And whether she stayed in Miami or moved to Seattle, she couldn't let that happen without a fight. Lucian's private office occupied the entire top floor of the DeVoe Enterprises building in downtown Miami. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city and the ocean beyond. Usually, Lucian found the view calming. Today, it did nothing to settle his nerves. He checked his watch again. Zariah was late. After her text saying they needed to talk, he'd cleared his schedule for the afternoon, postponing meetings and conference calls. Now he paced the office, unable to sit still. When his assistant announced Zariah's arrival, Lucian felt a mix of relief and anxiety. What would she say? Had she decided to take the Seattle job, to leave him? The door opened and Zariah walked in. She looked beautiful, but serious, in a simple blue dress. "Thank you for coming," Lucian said, crossing the room to take her hands. "I've been thinking about last night, about everything, and—" "Lucian," Zariah cut him off gently. "We need to talk about Jenkins." He blinked, thrown off. "Jenkins? What about him?" "He's working with Blackstone Development. He's helping them take over your company." Lucian stared at her. That's impossible. Jenkins has been with me from the beginning. He was one of my first investors. And now he's betraying you." Zariah opened her purse and pulled out a USB drive. "This contains emails, phone records, meeting notes, all proving that Jenkins has been working with Blackstone for months." "Where did you get this?" Zariah hesitated. "Victoria Sinclair gave it to me." "Victoria?" Lucian's expression hardened. "So that's what this is about. She's trying to turn us against each other." "No, Lucian. She's trying to help you. By going behind my back, by meeting with you secretly. She said you wouldn't believe her if she told you directly." Zariah placed the USB drive on his desk. "Just look at the evidence, then decide." Lucian stared at the small device. "Even if this is true, why would Jenkins betray me? He has too much to lose. Or too much to gain," Zariah countered. "Blackstone must have made him a better offer." Lucian sat heavily in his chair, trying to process this information. "I need to see what's on that drive." He plugged it into his computer and began scrolling through the files. Emails between Jenkins and Blackstone executives, meeting schedules, financial projections for Devo Enterprises after a leadership transition. "He's been planning this for months," Lucian said quietly, his face pale. "All those investor meetings he arranged, the introductions to potential partners. He was setting me up." "There's something else," Zariah said. "That job offer in Seattle. Victoria says it's connected to Blackstone. They wanted to get me away from you." "What?" Lucian looked up sharply. "Are you sure?" "I checked. The company funding those projects is a Blackstone subsidiary." Lucian stood up and walked to the window, his back to Zariah. "They've thought of everything. Isolate me from the people I trust. Undermine my leadership. Turn my own board against me." "Not everyone is against you," Zariah said. "Victoria is on your side." Lucian turned to face her. "And you? Are you on my side?" "I've always been on your side, Lucian, even when I was angry with you, even when you hurt me." He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry. For everything. For not standing up for you the way I should have." "That's not important right now," Zariah said, though they both knew it was. "What matters is stopping Blackstone and Jenkins." Lucian pulled back to look at her. "The gala tonight. That's their next move. Jenkins has been insisting that I meet with certain investors, give them special attention." Blackstone investors, Zariah realized. They're recruiting more shareholders to their side. "I need to cancel the gala." "No," Zariah said firmly. "That's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to look unstable, unpredictable. You need to go and show everyone that you're in control." "And you?" Lucian asked. "Will you come with me?" Zariah hesitated. "Are you sure that's what you want? After everything Jenkins said about your image?" "Jenkins is a traitor," Lucian said bitterly. "I don't care what he thinks. I care what you think, what you want. I want to be with someone who's proud to be with me, who doesn't hide me or make excuses for me. I've never been ashamed of you, Zariah, never. I've been afraid of losing everything I've built. But I see now that I was focusing on the wrong things." He took her hands. "Come to the gala with me, as my partner. No hiding, no excuses." Zariah searched his face. "Are you sure? There's a lot at stake." "I'm sure about one thing," Lucian said. "I love you, and I'm done pretending otherwise to make other people comfortable." For the first time that day, Zariah smiled. "In that case, I need to go home and find something to wear." "Wait," Lucian said, suddenly serious again. "We need to be careful. If Jenkins realizes we know about his connection to Blackstone, he might accelerate their plans." "So what do we do?" "We play along," Lucian said. "For now, I'll meet with the investors Jenkins wants me to meet. I'll pretend everything is normal. And meanwhile, I'll be gathering evidence, building my case against him. And tonight at the gala, tonight, we show everyone exactly who we are. Together." Zariah nodded. "I'll see you at 7. After she left, Lucian called his assistant. "Get me Victoria Sinclair on the phone and clear my schedule for the rest of the day. I have work to do." When Victoria answered, Lucian didn't waste time on pleasantries. Why didn't you come to me directly about Jenkins? Would you have believed me? Victoria asked. Maybe not, Lucian admitted. But I believe you now. Thank you for the evidence. So, what's your plan? I'm going to fight back, but I need allies on the board. People I can trust. You have me, Victoria said. And Marcus Chen has always supported you. Maybe Diane Rivera, too. 3 out of 12 board members, Lucian said grimly. Not enough to stop a vote. Then we need to change the math. Find dirt on some of the others. Pressure them to support you. That's not how I do business, Victoria. It's how Blackstone does business, she replied. You can't fight dirty players with clean hands, Lucian. Lucian was silent for a moment. I need to think about this. I'll see you tonight at the gala. Is Zariah coming? Yes, Lucian said firmly. She is. Good, Victoria said, surprising him. You're stronger together, and you're going to need that strength tonight. After hanging up, Lucian sat at his desk, staring at the USB drive. He'd built his company from nothing with hard work and honest deals. The thought of fighting dirty, of stooping to Blackstone's level, made him uneasy. But what choice did he have? If he lost control of the company, everything he'd worked for would be dismantled. The affordable housing projects, the sustainable energy initiatives, all gone. And for what? So Blackstone could squeeze more profit from the remains? No, he wouldn't let that happen. He would fight for his company, for his vision, and for Zariah. He picked up the phone again. Get me Marcus Chen and Diane Rivera. Tell them it's urgent. Across town, Zariah stood in her bedroom staring at her closet. She didn't have anything suitable for a high society gala. No designer dresses, no expensive jewelry. Just simple, practical clothes for her everyday life. Her phone rang. Victoria Sinclair. Did you talk to Lucian? Victoria asked when Zariah answered. Yes, he's looking at the evidence now. Good. Is he going to the gala? We both are, Zariah said. He wants to show a united front. Excellent. Now about your dress for tonight, Zariah sighed. I don't have anything appropriate. I thought that might be the case. I've taken the liberty of sending over a few options. They should be arriving at your apartment any minute. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. That's probably them now, Victoria said. Consider it my way of saying thank you for helping Lucian. Victoria, I can't accept. Yes, you can, and you will. Because tonight isn't just about looking good. It's about looking powerful. The people at this gala respect power, wealth, and status. If you want to help Lucian, you need to speak their language. After hanging up, Zariah opened her door to find a delivery person holding several garment bags from exclusive boutiques. Inside were 3 evening gowns, each more beautiful than the last. Simple but elegant, nothing flashy or inappropriate. Victoria had good taste, Zariah had to admit. She chose a deep emerald green dress that fit her perfectly. With her hair pulled back in a simple but elegant style, she looked different. Not like someone trying to be something she wasn't, but like someone stepping into her power. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucian. Car will pick you up at 6:30. Can't wait to see you. Zariah smiled, then grew serious again. Tonight wasn't just about looking beautiful on Lucian's arm. It was about standing beside him in a fight for his company, his vision, his future. Their future, perhaps. At precisely 6:30, a black car pulled up outside her building. Lucian stepped out, handsome in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. When he saw Zariah, he stopped in his tracks. You look... He seemed at a loss for words. Victoria sent the dress, Zariah explained. Remind me to thank her, Lucian said, taking Zariah's hand. But it's not the dress. It's you. You're beautiful. In the car, Lucian briefed her on what he'd learned that afternoon. Marcus Chen and Diane Rivera are with us. That's 3 board members, including Victoria. We need at least 4 more to block a vote. And Jenkins? Does he know that you know? I don't think so. I've been careful not to change my behavior around him. What about the investors at the gala tonight? The ones Jenkins wants you to meet? I'll meet them, Lucian said grimly. And I'll figure out what lies Jenkins has been telling them. The car pulled up to the Hotel Royale, where the gala was being held. Photographers lined the red carpet, snapping pictures of arriving guests. When Lucian and Zariah stepped out of the car, the flashbulbs went into overdrive. Mr. DeVoe, over here. Lucian, who's your date? Lucian took Zariah's hand firmly in his. Ready? She nodded, and they walked the carpet together, ignoring the shouted questions. At the entrance to the ballroom, they were greeted by Victoria, stunning in a silver gown. You both look perfect, she said, kissing Zariah's cheek. Exactly the image we want to project tonight. Strong, united, in control. Lucian scanned the room. Is Jenkins here yet? By the bar. Victoria nodded subtly toward the far side of the ballroom. With the Blackstone executives. Lucian's jaw tightened. I should confront him now. Not yet, Victoria cautioned. We need to secure more board members first. Follow the plan. The plan was for Lucian to work the room, speaking with key shareholders and board members, while Victoria kept an eye on Jenkins and the Blackstone team. Zariah would stay close to Lucian, presenting a united front. For the first hour, everything went according to plan. Lucian moved from group to group, charming and confident. Zariah at his side. To her surprise, he introduced her proudly to everyone. This is Zariah Monroe, my partner. She's an urban ecologist working on sustainable development projects. No hesitation, no qualifying language, just pride and love in his voice. Some of the older shareholders looked surprised, but most were polite, if reserved. A few seemed genuinely interested in Zariah's work, asking thoughtful questions about sustainable urban planning. Across the room, Jenkins watched them with narrowed eyes. He was standing with two men in expensive suits, Blackstone executives, Zariah assumed. One of them said something to Jenkins, who nodded and began making his way toward Lucian. Jenkins is coming, Zariah murmured to Lucian. Good, Lucian replied, his voice steady but his eyes hard. Let him come. Jenkins approached with a practiced smile. Lucian, there you are. And Ms. Monroe. What a pleasant surprise. Is it a surprise, Jenkins? Lucian asked coolly. I thought I made it clear that Zariah would be attending. Of course, Jenkins said smoothly. I simply meant it's pleasant to see her here. You look lovely, my dear. Zariah gave him a cold smile. Thank you. Lucian, there are some people I'd like you to meet, Jenkins continued. Important potential investors. The Blackstone executives? Lucian asked, his voice deliberately casual. I noticed them earlier. Jenkins's smile faltered for just a second, among others. They've expressed interest in our new developments in Coral Gables. I'm sure they have, Lucian said. Lead the way. As they followed Jenkins across the ballroom, Lucian squeezed Zariah's hand. Stay close, he whispered. The Blackstone executives were tall, polished men with calculating eyes. They shook Lucian's hand with practiced warmth. Mr. DeVoe, a pleasure to finally meet you. I'm Richard Blackstone. This is my associate, James Mercer. Blackstone himself, Lucian said, his voice neutral. I wasn't expecting the CEO to attend our little gathering. I make it a point to meet personally with potential partners, Blackstone replied, especially when they're as promising as DeVoe Enterprises. Partners, Lucian repeated. Is that what Jenkins has been discussing with you? Jenkins laughed nervously. Just preliminary conversations, Lucian. Nothing concrete. Nothing concrete, Lucian echoed. Just secret meetings, private phone calls and emails discussing a leadership transition at my company. The room seemed to go still, Jenkins's face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Lucian pulled out his phone and held it up, displaying one of the emails from the USB drive. This is dated 3 months ago. It outlines your plan to help Blackstone gain control of my company in exchange for a position as CEO after I'm removed. Jenkins took a step back. That's not what it looks like. Lucian's voice was cold. It's exactly what it looks like, Jenkins. Betrayal. People around them had gone quiet, watching the confrontation unfold. Richard Blackstone's expression remained calm, calculating. Mr. DeVoe, he said smoothly, business is business. Jenkins recognized that your company would be more valuable under our management. He was simply being pragmatic. Pragmatic, Lucian repeated. Is that what you call secretly plotting to take over someone's company? Trying to isolate them from their supporters, even going so far as to offer their partner a job in another city to get them out of the way? Zariah stepped forward. That's right. You offered me a job in Seattle through your subsidiary Green Future Initiatives, all to get me away from Lucian before your takeover. Blackstone's eyes narrowed. You have quite an imagination, Ms. Monroe. We have evidence, Lucian said. Emails, phone records, meeting notes. Enough to take to the SEC if necessary. For the first time, Blackstone looked uncertain. That would be unfortunate for everyone involved, including your shareholders. My shareholders deserve to know who they're really dealing with, Lucian replied. A company that uses deception and manipulation instead of honest business practices. By now, a crowd had gathered around them. Board members, investors, reporters, all watching with rapt attention. Jenkins looked desperate. Lucian, please, let's discuss this privately. Why, so you can spin more lies? Lucian turned to address the crowd. For those who don't know what's happening, Jeremy Jenkins, my chief financial officer and a member of my board, has been secretly working with Blackstone Development to orchestrate a hostile takeover of DeVoe Enterprises. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jenkins looked like he might be sick. Worse, Lucian continued, they plan to dismantle many of our core initiatives: affordable housing, sustainable energy, community development, all in the name of short-term profit. One of the board members, an older woman, pushed forward. Is this true, Jenkins? Diana, it's more complicated than... It's a simple question, she cut him off. Did you conspire with Blackstone behind the board's back? Jenkins looked around desperately, finding no allies in the sea of shocked and angry faces. Richard Blackstone, ever the businessman, recognized a losing position. Perhaps we should continue this discussion another time, when emotions aren't running so high. There won't be another time, Lucian said firmly. DeVoe Enterprises is not for sale. Not to you, not to anyone. Blackstone's expression hardened. You're making a mistake, DeVoe. Your company would thrive under our management. My company is thriving under my management, Lucian replied. And it will continue to do so with a board I can trust. He turned to Jenkins. You're fired, effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building tomorrow to collect your personal belongings. Your company shares will be handled according to the contract you signed, which, if you recall, includes a loyalty clause. Jenkins's face went from pale to red. You can't do this. The board will vote on your replacement tomorrow, said Diana Rivera, the board member who had questioned him. I think I speak for most of us when I say we've lost confidence in your leadership, Jeremy. Several other board members nodded in agreement. Jenkins looked around wildly, then stormed out of the ballroom. Richard Blackstone watched him go with a cold smile. It seems your chief financial officer is leaving you, DeVoe. If you need a replacement, Blackstone Development has several qualified candidates. I think we've filled our quota of snakes for the year, Victoria said, stepping forward to stand beside Lucian. But thank you for the offer. Blackstone's smile didn't waver. This isn't over, DeVoe. There are other ways to acquire a company. There are, Lucian agreed, but they all require my consent, which you will never have. After Blackstone and his associate left, the crowd around Lucian buzzed with questions and concerns. Board members wanted details about Jenkins's betrayal. Investors worried about the company's stability. Through it all, Zariah remained at Lucian's side, a steady, calming presence. When he faltered for words, she stepped in. When he needed a moment to compose himself, she smoothly redirected the conversation. They were a team. Everyone could see it. Hours later, when the last guests had gone and only Lucian, Zariah, and Victoria remained in the ballroom, Lucian finally allowed himself to exhale. That was intense, he said, loosening his tie. Victoria laughed. That was brilliant. The look on Jenkins's face when you showed him the email, priceless. But it's not over, Zariah cautioned. Blackstone won't give up easily. No, Lucian agreed. But we've bought time, and we've exposed their tactics. That counts for something. Victoria checked her phone. The first news stories are already online. DeVoe Enterprises CEO thwarts hostile takeover attempt. The stock will probably take a hit tomorrow, but it will recover. I don't care about the stock right now, Lucian said, looking at Zariah. I care about fixing what I almost lost. Victoria took the hint. I should go. Early board meeting tomorrow to deal with the Jenkins situation. After she left, Lucian and Zariah were alone in the grand ballroom. You were amazing tonight, Lucian said, taking Zariah's hands. I couldn't have done this without you. You didn't need me to expose Jenkins, Zariah replied. You had the evidence. I'm not talking about Jenkins. I'm talking about everything else. The way you handled the investors, the board members, the way you stood beside me, supporting me without overshadowing me. That's what partners do, Zariah said simply. Lucian nodded. Partners. Not friends. Not colleagues. Partners. Is that what we are? It's what I want us to be. Lucian took a deep breath. I know I haven't always been the partner you deserved. I let fear control me. Fear of losing my company, my status, my success. But tonight showed me what real success looks like. And what does it look like? Zariah asked softly. It looks like having someone who stands beside you when everything is falling apart. Someone who sees your true self and loves you anyway. He touched her cheek gently. Someone like you. Zariah leaned into his touch. I was ready to leave, you know, to take that job in Seattle, fake as it was. I know, and I wouldn't have blamed you. Lucian's eyes were serious. I hurt you. I made you feel less important than my business, my image. You did, Zariah acknowledged, but tonight you put me first. You introduced me proudly to everyone. No hesitation, no qualifiers. Because I am proud of you. Of us. Lucian pulled her closer. I don't want to hide anymore, Zariah. I want everyone to know how much I love you. The words hung in the air between them, sincere and vulnerable. I love you too, Zariah said finally. But love isn't always enough. We need trust, respect, equality. I know, and I'm ready to give you all of that. Lucian took her hands. Come home with me. Not just tonight, but every night. Move in with me. Let's build a real life together. Zariah smiled. Are you sure your board would approve? I don't care if they approve, Lucian said firmly. I only care if you approve. Let me think about it, Zariah said, but her smile gave her away. They left the ballroom hand in hand, walking through the quiet hotel to the waiting car outside. As they stepped onto the sidewalk, a figure emerged from the shadows. Jenkins. His face was flushed, his tie loosened, and he smelled of whiskey. His eyes, when they locked on Lucian, were filled with rage. I think you've won, he slurred. You think you're so much better than everyone else. Lucian pushed Zariah slightly behind him. Go home, Jenkins. You're drunk. It's all her fault, Jenkins spat, pointing at Zariah. Everything was fine until she came along. The board respected you, the investors trusted you. They still do, Lucian said calmly. The only one who lost respect and trust tonight was you. Jenkins took a step closer, unsteady on his feet. You ruined my life. 20 years I've worked to get where I am, 20 years. And you destroyed it all in one night. You destroyed it yourself when you betrayed me, Lucian replied. Now go home before you make things worse. But Jenkins wasn't listening. His face contorted with fury as he reached inside his jacket and pulled out a small black object. A gun. Zariah gasped. Lucian went very still. Jenkins, he said quietly, put that away. This isn't you. You don't know me. Jenkins snarled. You never did. Always so focused on your grand vision, your perfect world. Well, guess what? The world isn't perfect, and neither are you. He raised the gun, pointing it directly at Lucian's chest. Jenkins, please, Zariah said, stepping forward despite Lucian's attempt to keep her behind him. Think about what you're doing. Stay out of this, Jenkins snapped. This is between me and him. If you hurt him, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison, Zariah said, her voice steady despite her fear. Is that what you want? To throw away whatever future you have left? Jenkins's hand trembled. I don't have a future. He took it all away. That's not true, Zariah insisted. You made a mistake, a big one, but your life isn't over. For a moment, Jenkins seemed to waver. The gun lowered slightly. Then headlights swept across them as a car turned the corner. Jenkins startled, the gun jerking up again. Look out, Zariah cried, pushing Lucian aside just as Jenkins pulled the trigger. The sound was deafening in the quiet street. Zariah felt a searing pain in her side. She stumbled, falling against Lucian, who caught her with a cry of alarm. Zariah, no, no, no! She looked down and saw blood spreading across the emerald-green dress. Lucian, she whispered, her knees buckling. As she collapsed in Lucian's arms, she heard shouts, running footsteps. Jenkins was tackled by hotel security guards who had heard the shot. Someone call an ambulance, Lucian shouted, lowering Zariah gently to the ground. Hang on, Angel, help is coming. Just hang on. His face blurred above her as darkness crept in from the edges of her vision. She tried to speak, to tell him she loved him, but no words came out. The last thing she heard was Lucian's voice, desperate and breaking. Don't leave me, Zariah. Please don't leave me. Then darkness claimed her. The sterile smell of hospital disinfectant filled Lucian's nostrils as he sat beside Zariah's bed, holding her limp hand. The steady beep of the heart monitor was the only sound in the quiet room. For 3 days, he hadn't left her side except when the doctors forced him to step out. 3 days since Jenkins had pulled that trigger. 3 days of waiting, hoping, praying for Zariah to wake up. The bullet had hit her in the side, missing vital organs, but causing significant blood loss. The doctors had successfully removed it, but Zariah remained unconscious, her body recovering from the trauma and surgery. Lucian looked at her peaceful face, so still against the white hospital pillow. Her natural beauty remained untouched, even here in this stark setting. Please come back to me, he whispered, squeezing her hand gently. I can't do this without you. A soft knock at the door interrupted his vigil. Victoria entered carrying a small bouquet of sunflowers. Any change? She asked quietly. Lucian shook his head. The doctors say her vitals are good, that she's stable, but she won't wake up. Victoria placed the flowers on the windowsill. She will. She's strong. This is my fault, Lucian said, his voice breaking. If I hadn't confronted Jenkins publicly, if I'd handled it privately. Stop, Victoria said firmly. Jenkins made his choices. You are not responsible for his actions. But Zariah is paying the price, Lucian said bitterly. She pushed me out of the way. The bullet was meant for me. Because she loves you, Victoria said simply, just as you would have done for her. Lucian looked up at Victoria, his eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. Any news about Jenkins? He's still in custody, no bail. The prosecutor is charging him with attempted murder. And Blackstone. Damage control, Victoria replied. They've issued a statement denying any knowledge of Jenkins's actions, claiming their discussions with him were just preliminary explorations of potential synergies. Lucian snorted. Of course they did. The good news is, the board is united behind you now, even the members who were wavering. Nothing like an assassination attempt to build sympathy. I don't want their sympathy, Lucian said. I want their support for our vision, for what DeVoe Enterprises stands for. You have it, Victoria assured him. The affordable housing projects, the sustainable energy initiatives, everything is moving forward. Your position as CEO is secure. None of that matters if she doesn't wake up. Victoria looked at him for a long moment. You really do love her, don't you? More than anything, Lucian said simply. More than the company, more than success, more than my own life. Then tell her, Victoria said. They say people in comas can hear. Tell her everything you haven't said yet. After Victoria left, Lucian moved his chair closer to Zariah's bed. He took her hand again, holding it between both of his. Zariah, he began softly, I don't know if you can hear me, but there are things I need to say, things I should have said a long time ago. He took a deep breath. I love you, not just in private, not just when it's convenient. I love all of you, your strength, your intelligence, your heart, the way you fight for what you believe in, the way you fought for us, even when I didn't deserve it. Tears welled in his eyes. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel less than what you are, for every time I didn't stand up for you, for every moment I put anything else before you. He wiped away a tear. Please come back to me, Angel. I need you, not just beside me, but leading the way, showing me what really matters. As he spoke, he thought he felt a slight pressure on his hand. He looked down, hardly daring to hope. Zariah's fingers had curled slightly around his. Zariah, he whispered, his heart racing. Can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered, once, twice, then slowly opened. Lucian, she murmured, her voice rough from disuse. I'm here, he said, jumping to his feet. I'm right here, don't try to move. Her eyes found his, still cloudy with medication but aware. What happened? Jenkins, Lucian said simply. He had a gun. You pushed me out of the way. Memory returned to her eyes. Are you okay? Lucian gave a choked laugh. Am I okay? You're the one in the hospital bed. But you're not hurt? No, thanks to you. He kissed her hand. You saved my life. Zariah tried to shift in the bed and winced. How bad is it? The bullet hit your side, clean entry and exit. No major organs damaged. You lost a lot of blood, but the doctors say you'll make a full recovery. How long have I been here? 3 days, Lucian said. The longest 3 days of my life. Zariah's eyes searched his face. You look terrible, he laughed. Thanks, I haven't exactly been sleeping, or showering from the looks of it. Even in pain, even after days unconscious, her spirit was intact. Lucian felt a wave of love so powerful it nearly knocked him over. I'll go get the doctor, he said, starting to rise. Wait, Zariah held his hand. What happened with Jenkins? With Blackstone? Jenkins is in jail. Blackstone is running scared. The company is safe. Lucian stroked her cheek. But none of that matters right now. All that matters is you getting better. It matters, Zariah insisted. It's your life's work. You're my life, Lucian said simply. The rest is just details. Before she could respond, a nurse entered the room. Seeing Zariah awake, she hurried to check her vitals. Welcome back, Ms. Monroe, she said warmly. You've had quite a few people worried about you. I'll get the doctor, Lucian said, reluctantly letting go of Zariah's hand. In the hallway, he took a moment to compose himself, overwhelmed with relief. She was awake. She was going to be okay. He pulled out his phone and sent a quick text to Victoria. She's awake. The response came immediately. Thank God. Give her my love. And Lucian, don't waste this second chance. He had no intention of wasting it. Not a single moment. The next few days were a blur of doctors, tests and cautious optimism. Zariah grew stronger each day, moving from critical care to a private recovery room. Lucian remained a constant presence, working from a makeshift office in the corner of her room when he had to, but mostly just being there for her. Victoria visited daily, bringing news from the company and the board. Marcus Chen sent elaborate flower arrangements. Even Diana Rivera stopped by, surprising everyone with her warmth towards Zariah. "You've got quite a fan club," Lucian remarked one afternoon as he helped Zariah walk slowly around the room, her first time out of bed. "They're just being nice because I took a bullet," Zariah joked, though her face was tight with pain from the movement. "No," Lucian said seriously. "They admire you, your courage, your integrity, the way you handled yourself at the gala. Before or after getting shot?" "Both," Lucian smiled, "though I'd prefer if you didn't make a habit of the latter." They reached the window, and Zariah paused to look out at the Miami skyline. "It's a beautiful city," she said softly. "It is," Lucian agreed, following her gaze. "Especially with you in it." Zariah turned to look at him. "About Seattle, you don't have to decide anything now," Lucian said quickly. "Focus on getting better first." "I've already decided," Zariah said. "I'm not going." Relief washed over Lucian's face. "You're staying in Miami?" "Yes," Zariah said, "but not just because of you." "No?" "No, because I have work to do here, important work." She looked back out at the city. "Those community gardens we planned, the urban renewal projects, they matter to me." Lucian smiled. "They matter to me too, now more than ever." "What do you mean?" "The board has approved a new initiative, a non-profit foundation focused on sustainable urban development in underserved communities." Lucian watched her face carefully. "It needs a director, someone with vision, passion, expertise." Zariah raised an eyebrow. "Are you offering me a job, Mr. DeVoe?" "I'm offering you a partnership," Lucian corrected. "Equal standing, equal voice. Your projects, your vision, with the full resources of DeVoe Enterprises behind them." "Why now?" "Because I finally understand what matters," Lucian said. "Not just making money or building skyscrapers, but making a difference, changing lives, the things you've always cared about." Zariah was quiet for a moment, considering. "And the board approved this?" "Unanimously," Lucian confirmed. "It turns out nearly getting killed by your CFO gives you a certain amount of leverage." Zariah smiled despite herself. "I'll think about it." "Take all the time you need," Lucian said. "There's no pressure." A week later, the doctor finally cleared Zariah to go home. As Lucian helped her into the wheelchair, hospital policy for all discharged patients, she looked up at him. "Whose home am I going to?" "Wherever you want," Lucian said. "Your apartment, my penthouse, a new place altogether. It's your choice." Zariah thought for a moment. "Your place for now. It has an elevator. Stairs would be challenging." Lucian smiled. "My place it is." Outside the hospital, they were surprised to find a crowd of reporters waiting. Cameras flashed as Lucian helped Zariah into the car. "Mr. DeVoe, is it true Jenkins was working with Blackstone?" "Ms. Monroe, how are you feeling?" "Lucian, will you press charges against Blackstone for corporate espionage?" Lucian ignored the questions, focused only on getting Zariah safely into the car. But once she was settled, he turned to face the reporters. "Ms. Monroe is still recovering, and we would appreciate privacy during this time," he said firmly. "I will hold a press conference next week to address all questions about DeVoe's enterprises." As they drove away, Zariah looked at Lucian. "A press conference? Are you sure that's wise?" "It's necessary," Lucian said. "There are too many rumors, too much speculation. I need to set the record straight." "About Jenkins and Blackstone?" "About everything," Lucian said, taking her hand. "Including us." A week later, Zariah stood backstage at the DeVoe Enterprises headquarters, watching on a monitor as Lucian addressed a room full of reporters. She was still moving carefully, her side tender from the healing wound, but each day brought improvement. Victoria stood beside her, elegantly dressed as always. "Nervous?" she asked. "A little," Zariah admitted. "This is a lot of attention." "Get used to it," Victoria said with a smile. "Being with Lucian means being in the spotlight, especially after everything that's happened." On the monitor, Lucian was answering questions about Jenkins, explaining how the former CFO had secretly collaborated with Blackstone Development to orchestrate a hostile takeover. "Will you be pursuing legal action against Blackstone?" a reporter asked. "We're exploring all options," Lucian replied diplomatically. "But my focus right now is on moving forward, not looking back. "And what about the shooting?" another reporter called out. "Is it true Jenkins was aiming for you, not Miss Monroe?" Lucian's expression darkened. "Jeremy Jenkins will face justice for his actions. Beyond that, I won't comment on an ongoing criminal case." "One more question," a woman in the front row said. "There are rumors that your relationship with Zariah Monroe was a point of contention with your board, that some members felt she wasn't the right fit for someone in your position. Would you care to comment?" A hush fell over the room. Victoria tensed beside Zariah, who held her breath waiting for Lucian's response. Lucian was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. Then he looked directly into the camera. "Let me be very clear about this," he said, his voice strong and sure. "Zariah Monroe is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Not just personally, but professionally. Her vision, her integrity, her courage. These are the qualities that have made DeVoe Enterprises better, stronger." He paused, then continued. "As for being the right fit, if anyone on my board or elsewhere has concerns about my relationship with Zariah, they are welcome to take their investments elsewhere, because I will not compromise on what matters most, and she matters most." Zariah felt tears welling in her eyes. Victoria squeezed her arm. "Told you he had it in him," she whispered. On screen, Lucian wasn't finished. "In fact," he continued, "I have an announcement to make. DeVoe Enterprises is launching a new initiative, the Monroe Foundation for Sustainable Urban Development. This foundation will work directly with communities to create green spaces, affordable housing, and sustainable infrastructure in underserved areas." Murmurs rippled through the crowd of reporters. Cameras flashed. "The foundation will be led by its namesake, Zariah Monroe, whose expertise in urban ecology and community development makes her uniquely qualified for this role." Zariah gasped. He was naming the foundation after her. "And one more thing," Lucian said, reaching into his pocket. "If Ms. Monroe is willing, I'd like to make our partnership official in every way." He pulled out a small velvet box, holding it up so the cameras could see. "Zariah," he said, looking directly into the camera again, "if you're watching, and I know you are, would you do me the honor of joining me on stage?" Victoria grinned at Zariah's shocked expression. "That wasn't in the script," she said, "but I can't say I'm surprised." Zariah's heart pounded as she made her way to the stage, moving carefully but with determination. When she emerged, the room erupted in flashbulbs and shouted questions. Lucian crossed to her immediately, taking her arm to support her. "Sorry for the surprise," he whispered, "but I couldn't wait any longer." He led her to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, Zariah Monroe." More cameras flashed. Zariah blinked in the bright lights. I wasn't expecting to speak today," she began nervously. "You don't have to," Lucian assured her, "but there's something I need to ask you first." He dropped to one knee in front of her, still holding her hand. The room went completely silent. Opening the velvet box, he revealed a stunning emerald ring surrounded by diamonds. "Zariah Monroe," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the room, "you have saved me in every way a person can be saved. You've shown me what really matters. You've made me better." Zariah's free hand went to her mouth, tears filling her eyes. "I love you," Lucian continued, "all of you. Your strength, your passion, your heart. And I want to spend the rest of my life showing you just how much." He took a deep breath. "Will you marry me?" The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Every reporter, every camera focused on Zariah's face. She looked down at Lucian, this man who had finally found the courage to choose her publicly, proudly, without reservation. "Yes," she said, her voice soft but clear. "Yes, I will." The room erupted in cheers and camera flashes as Lucian slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood to pull her into a gentle embrace, mindful of her healing wound. "I love you," he whispered against her hair. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." "And a third and a fourth," she teased, pulling back to look at him. "But this is the last one, Lucian DeVoe. No more chances after this." "I won't need any more," he promised, before kissing her in front of the flashing cameras, the cheering reporters, the whole world. 6 months later, Zariah stood in the garden of the first Monroe Foundation community project. What had once been an empty, trash-strewn lot in an overlooked neighborhood was now a thriving green space with vegetable gardens, fruit trees, and a playground for children. Residents from the surrounding buildings, many of them renovated with help from DeVoe Enterprises' affordable housing initiative, worked in the garden plots, harvesting tomatoes and peppers. Children played on swings and slides. Elderly neighbors sat in the shade, chatting and watching the activity. Zariah smiled as she bent to help a young girl pick a ripe tomato. Her side still ached occasionally, a reminder of that night outside the hotel, but the wound had healed well. "Be gentle," she advised the child. "Just a little twist and there you go." The girl grinned at her success, clutching the red tomato like a prize. "Thank you, Miss Zariah." "You're welcome, Marisol," Zariah replied. "Make sure to share with your brother." As Marisol ran off to show her family her harvest, Zariah straightened up, surveying the garden with pride. This was what she had always wanted to create, not just green spaces, but community spaces, places where people could connect with nature and with each other. "It's beautiful," said a voice behind her. Zariah turned to see Lucian, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him in a simple button-down shirt and jeans. "It's getting there," she agreed, accepting his kiss. "The fall planting is almost finished. By spring, this place will be transformed." "It already is transformed," Lucian said, looking around. "Just like us." He wasn't wrong. The past 6 months had changed both of them. Lucian had stepped back from the day-to-day operations of Devo Enterprises, delegating more to his trusted team, so he could focus on the projects that truly mattered to him, and on building a life with Zariah. Zariah had thrown herself into the Monroe Foundation, assembling a team of passionate experts in urban ecology, sustainable architecture, and community organizing. Together, they had launched 3 projects across Miami, with plans for a dozen more in the coming year. The engagement ring sparkled on her finger as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The wedding was still 2 months away, a small ceremony on the beach with just their closest friends. Victoria had tried to convince them to make it a grand society event. Think of the press, the connections, the donors for the foundation. But Zariah and Lucian had been firm. Their relationship had been a public spectacle enough already. The wedding would be private, intimate, just for them. "How was your meeting?" Zariah asked as they walked through the garden, greeting residents as they went. "Productive," Lucian replied. "Blackstone's new CEO is much more ethical than his predecessor." After the scandal with Jenkins, Richard Blackstone had been forced to step down. The company was now led by a woman, Elizabeth Chen, who had approached Lucian about a legitimate partnership, no hostile takeovers, no underhanded tactics. "And you trust her?" Zariah asked. "About as far as I can throw her," Lucian admitted with a smile. "But she seems genuinely interested in our sustainable development model, and a partnership would give us access to resources we could use for the foundation." "Just be careful," Zariah cautioned. "Remember what happened last time." "I remember," Lucian said, his expression turning serious. "I nearly lost everything that mattered." He stopped walking, turning to face her. "Which reminds me, there's something I've been wanting to ask you." "You already proposed," Zariah teased. "I said yes, remember? Big scene, lots of cameras, very dramatic." Lucian laughed. "Not that, something else." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a key. "I bought a house." Zariah blinked. "A house? When? Where?" "Last week. It's in Coral Gables, not too far from here, actually." He looked a bit nervous. "It's nothing like the penthouse. It's older, with a big yard, room for a garden, maybe room for more someday." "More?" Zariah echoed. "A family," Lucian said softly. "If you want that, someday." Zariah's heart swelled. A house, a yard, a family. Things she had never let herself dream about, especially not with Lucian. His world had seemed so different from hers, penthouses and board meetings and private jets, but here he was, offering her something real, something rooted. "I'd like to see it," she said, taking the key from his hand. "Now?" Lucian asked, surprised. "Why not? Unless you have another meeting." "No more meetings today," he assured her. "I'm all yours." As they walked back to the car, Zariah looked around at the garden one more time. Children playing, neighbors talking, plants growing, life happening. This was what success looked like. Not skyscrapers or stock prices, but positive change, community, connection, love. In the car, Lucian reached for her hand, his thumb brushing over her engagement ring. "Happy?" he asked. Zariah smiled, remembering that day in the hotel lobby when he had found her sitting alone, judged and dismissed by people who couldn't see her worth. How far they had come since then. "Yes," she said simply, "very happy." As they drove toward their future home, Zariah thought about all the moments that had led them here, the challenges, the doubts, the pain, and the love that had been strong enough to overcome it all. She wasn't the maid. She had never been just the maid, but she had cleaned up the messes in Lucian's life, helped him see what truly mattered, taught him to value substance over appearance. And he had given her a platform for her dreams, resources for her vision, and most importantly, his heart, completely and without reservation. Not the maid, not the millionaire, just two people who had found each other, lost each other, and found their way back again. Two people driving toward home.